Hello there, you're listening to the Box Office Show. I'm Ryan Hill.
And I'm Dylan Johnson. Today we're going to be talking about the box office numbers from last weekend and our box office predictions for this upcoming weekend.
We'll also be talking about one of the most important movies of the year for everyone at Warner Brothers, everyone dealing with the superhero genre, and everyone that is hoping that the DCU will be an amazing new addition to our cinema landscape. James Gunn and Peter Safran heading that studio more than anyone else. They have it all riding on one film. Superman. Theme so iconic, they didn't even try to write a new one. They're like, we'll just use that. Can't be beaten.
That's how I kind of feel about the Tim Burton Batman movies. Is that's theme is so they use it in the Batman animated series because it's so iconic.
Indeed, but they made new ones for Dark Knight and the Batman, and both have become iconic in their own right. And they did the same with Spider-Man. I mean, each new iteration got its own version, so it's interesting that Superman, they were like, we can't beat it. Don't even try. We'll just, keep that, have a score for everything else, new themes for all the other characters, but that one's got to stay.
It just feels like hope, It is the music of hope.
It does. Like, it totally hits. It gets you in the mood for sure to be inspired, to see something awesome. So I'm glad they kept with it.
Yeah.
It works.
Let's start with some news. Tickets for Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey are on sale now, 1 year in advance, specifically for the 70mm IMAX screenings. But that's still that's crazy. Who knows where they're gonna be in a year?
That's what I'm saying. Like,
how do you buy movie tickets a year in advance? Like maybe concert tickets, because that's like an event to travel to if you're somewhere else. But a movie theater is like, if I'm not near the theater, I'm not going to go out of my way to travel to the theater to watch The Odyssey. It's a $20 ticket. I'm just going to get a refund and buy another ticket somewhere else.
Even in the 70mm version of it?
No, probably not. That's crazy. A year in advance is crazy.
Yeah, I would not do that. I'll wait. But that shows the hype that Christopher Nolan has. And at least, there are people out there that know for sure. 70mm IMAX, that's the way to see it.
We can see how the pre-sales are going and get kind of like an idea of what the box office is going to look like looking at those pre-sale numbers.
We'll see. I mean, it'll definitely be, sold out like crazy. I mean, it was the same thing with Oppenheimer, and that was obviously ended up being huge. We'll see.
Yeah, we got to see what that does. 70mm IMAX. And we saw it opening weekend 70mm IMAX, and we didn't.
No, we did not. We saw it 35mm.
Oh, was it 35mm?
Yeah.
Bummer.
Indeed. We weren't able to get to see it in the 70mm. I'd love to try the Odyssey, but again, it's going to be so slammed. And with Oppenheimer, all the projectors were like falling apart. A lot of them were the first few days because they've just never had to run so many shows for something that long.
I mean, we get tickets now, I guess.
So we'll see. Hopefully it'll be good. It'll be warmed up. And then maybe end of week 1, I can go and try and get that. But yeah, definitely one to look out for. The Odyssey will be one of the biggest movies of next year. And another one to look out for, not this next year, but 2027, The Legend of Zelda adaptation. They have announced who will be starring in that film. Bo Bragason will be Zelda, and Benjamin Evan Ainsworth will be Link. These are names you probably don't recognize because they're no names. They didn't go for huge, already established stars. They're going to have new faces come in and bring these characters to life, and then maybe they'll become stars as a result of it. But I think it was a good choice to go this way rather than, all those fan castings of Tom Holland as Link or something. So a good route. Ultimately.
Yeah, it'll be a nice fresh start. A lot of good franchises do that. They did that somewhat with the Lord of the Rings movies for some of those hobbits. Of course, Elijah Wood had some previous acting credits, and Sean Astin was kind of a star at that point. But they went in that direction. They did that with the Harry Potter movies. They're doing it again with the Harry Potter child actors for the series. Starting with an unknown, you can kind of wipe away any preconceived notions of them. I mean, they did it with Daniel Craig kind of for the James Bond movies. I mean, he had led Layer Cake before then, which was a smaller indie film for England, but I mean, it's still nice to take a relatively unknown name and turn them into a big star with an established franchise like this. And
Exactly.
speaking of big stars, we have some somewhat casting announcements for Robert Eggers' Werewolf. It's possible that Aaron Taylor Johnson and Lily Rose Depp will be starring in it, is rumored, as well as Willem Dafoe.
Yeah, well, that seems like a given.
Yeah,
Got to have
absolutely.
him back, of course. But yeah, seems like it'll be a whole full reunion for Aaron Taylor Johnson, Lily Rose Depp. I think he's signed on. I think Lily Rose
Hmm.
Depp is still in talks, but
Aaron Taylor Johnson would
sure
make
they'll
a
do
great werewolf. I'm sorry, werewolf. Werewolf. There, wolf.
it. So something to look out for. And it seems like that will definitely be his next project because he had plenty in the works. We talked about all the ones that he's been announcing lately, but it seems like the very next one will be Werewolf. So from vampires to werewolves. There we go.
Werewolf.
All right, let's do the box office breakdown for July 11th to the 13th. Of course, debuting was Superman, and it had 125 million in its opening weekend, which is a very strong start. It had 220 million worldwide, which not quite as strong. It seems like overseas they're going to be fighting an uphill battle, but
Mm.
domestically at least, people came and showed out for Superman. So I'm pleased with that start. That's
Yeah,
definitely
man.
what I needed, and it's one of the biggest, I think top 3 or 4 openings of the year so far, over 100 million. That's what we needed. So I'm very thrilled.
Yeah, I think I'm giving up. I think I'm giving up on the box office draft. Superman was your fifth pick, and it's still doing very, very well. So I don't know,
Oof.
man. I think it's a shoe in for you. I think you've done it. You've won. We'll see with Fantastic Four.
Yeah,
In the next few weekends, and we'll see with Zootopia 2 in November. But I think you've done it. I think unless Avatar gets pushed, you pretty much clinched a victory here.
yeah. We haven't
So
even gotten to the final boss yet of
yeah,
Avatar, so
we'll see.
we'll wait and see.
You're already
But
blowing it out of the water. Speaking of blowing it out of the water, second, another one of your movies, Jurassic World Rebirth, made 40 million this past weekend, bringing its worldwide total to 529 million. Starting to slow down a little bit, but still probably killing it overseas.
yeah, I would say this is great stuff here because it's already past 500 million. What I needed to do is get like to the 850, 900 mil range. I think it's on track for that. I think it's going to be steady throughout the rest of July. And so, especially overseas, because again, if Superman isn't able to do well overseas, at least that means Jurassic World Rebirth will still be able to bring in a lot of people. So I'm happy with that. I think it'll get to right where I need it to. Doesn't look like it'll be $1 billion film, but it'll be quite close. So I'm happy with that performance, and it's certainly beaten out F1 the movie with 13 million this weekend. Its worldwide total is just on the edge of 400 million worldwide. So how are you feeling about that?
Feeling okay, I guess. I think it's going to end up being lower than Mission Impossible, which means maybe I made a mistake in replacing it, but they'll be close enough to where I don't think the difference is going to cost me a victory here. So it was worth a shot, I guess. It was a Hail Mary, didn't pan out. What are you going
What
to
can
do?
you do? Yeah.
What are you going to do? Below that, another one of my movies, How to Train Your Dragon, with 7.9 million, bringing its worldwide total to 560 million worldwide. It is about to get plowed past by Jurassic World, which expected. I was hoping How
Mhm.
to Train Your Dragon could end up around 650. It's looking unlikely. Maybe around there, but probably a little short.
Yeah. We'll see. It'll hope to cross 600 million, which it should maybe just squeeze past. But yeah, that's where it'll lie, just right around 600 mil.
Very sad.
Elio with 4 million rounds out the top five,
And then 28 years later with 2.7 million.
followed closely by Lilo and Stitch, also 2.7 million.
Then Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning with 1.4 million.
Megan 2.0, 1.4 million. Its domestic is 22 million, which I think is still below the opening of Megan. So definitely a huge drop off for that sequel.
Yeah. And then rounding out the top 10 in probably its last weekend here, Materialists with $720,000, bringing its pretty much final domestic total around 35 million.
which is pretty good. I know what the budget was on that, but
Yeah, it's
compared
all right.
to something like Megan, it did well, and I'm sure it'll
Yeah,
clean up on PVOD and streaming whenever it hits that. So, all
sure.
right, let's do the box office predictions for this weekend, the 18th to the 20th. Superman will undoubtedly take the top spot again, but what will the numbers be?
Steep
Dylan, do
drop
you have
off,
any
60
guess?
million. I'm calling it.
You think 60 million?
Cutting in half, 60 million.
Okay. I mean, that's not bad. A
For a superhero movie,
50%
no.
drop is good. We've seen, again, like
We've seen like
high
70.
60s hitting 70% for like really terrible superhero films. So
Mhm.
that'd be okay. I'd be happy with that. I mean, yeah, any 55 to 60 million, I'm good.
All right.
I'm happy. But we do have a new release. I Know What You Did Last Summer. What do you think this one will get? A legacy sequel type deal for
Dude,
this horror
like
franchise?
15 million maybe. I don't think it's
Hmm,
blown anything out of the water.
interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it could catch on, be a fun little thing for people to go out
There's
to because
just
it's
so
got the
many
horror thing,
other
it's got the
options right now.
drama. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff this July. So, but maybe it'll be able to stand out. I think I'll say 18 million.
We'll see.
But yeah. All right, now let's chat about the movie of the hour, Superman. James Gunn's Superman, his fifth superhero film in like the last decade.
Yeah.
And this one is to start a whole new universe. DCEU is dead, and the DCU is born. Will it continue? It all sort of hinges on whether or not people love Superman, go out and see it, and then have the trust that DC will continue to make good films and see the rest of them. So, very important film. Had a whole lot writing on it. Dylan,
Yeah.
before we even talk about this film, I want you to talk about this character, Superman.
Yeah.
What is your history with Soups, with Big Blue? Is he one of your favorites, or is he just one that you're like, take it or leave it?
I'm iffy on him, you know? I've
Hmm.
never been like a huge Superman kind of guy. I know he's the original superhero. He is what started the whole genre, 100 years ago, or almost like 80 years ago. And I don't know. I I think it makes sense that the first superhero is just the superhero of hope. He's the, beacon of light in the darkness that is, World War II at the time. And he is kind of like leading the fray in terms of just being above and all, like the ultimate superhero. He can fly, he can shoot lasers out of his eyes, he's incredibly strong. And he's like a incredible leader. Like, there are aspects about him that are very, very typical of what you would imagine the first superhero looks like. And
Hmm.
I don't know. For a long time, it was like superhero just seems invincible. I don't really understand what the stakes are, and I think James Gunn understands that. He's had multiple interviews where he talks about wanting to make his Superman not feel overpowered, wanting him to be like fallible and like be able to be beaten so that there's stakes, which I like, and makes it more fun to watch. I just never had the biggest draw to Superman. I saw Man of Steel. I think when it came out within the year, that was my first time watching a Superman on screen, and because I didn't watch whatever the TV show was, Smallville, so I had no experience with any of that. But I remember watching it and being like, "This is cool. It's a new take on Superman. Apparently, he's a little bit edgier. There's like consequences to a lot of his actions. He seems very strong. This is very intense. I can dig it." But
Hmm.
I still was not like drawn to Superman overwhelmingly. I'm just in terms of DC, I'm just such a Batman guy, like through and through. And then
You like the
I remember
edginess.
in COVID, there is a drive-in theater not like an hour away from where we live, and they always show like new releases, but in COVID, because there were no new releases, they were showing old movies, which in my opinion, if you're a drive-in theater, why are you showing? I don't want to watch the new release in a drive-in theater. I want to watch something I've already seen because it's a shitty theater experience. You're in a
Yeah,
car, you're listening to the audio through a radio, and the screen is kind of like tattered and gross. I want to watch like an old movie on a drive-in theater for the aesthetic of it, like to enjoy it
yeah,
that way. I don't really want to watch the
a
new
brand new
Superman,
release.
yeah,
Yeah, for
on
sure.
on in this like not so great. I want to go to like a real full theater with like a great sound system and stuff. But during COVID, because there were no new releases, they were showing like great double features. So I went a bunch of times, and one of the times was Superman and Batman, the
Mm.
original like Richard Donner Superman and the original Tim Burton Batman double feature. And on the other screen, because they had two screens, the other double feature was I think Goonies and something else really really good. And everybody I was with wanted to go to that double feature because they were good movies, and I loved the Tim Burton Batman. And I was like, I'd never seen the Superman. Let's go. Let's do this double feature. We can watch
Mhm.
Superman. It'll be good or bad or whatever, and then we'll get to see Batman. And Batman is the best. Like I love the Tim Burton Batman. And we watched the Richard Donner Superman, and I really didn't like it. And the people
Mhm.
who I was with really didn't like it. And we could literally turn around and we could watch Goonies happening on the screen behind us. And so like you could see the pirate ship and you're like, it looks so much more fun over there. What are we doing? And they were also like they were two kids movies, so they were shorter. So it's like a 3 hour thing, whereas ours are like full superhero movies, so it's more of a 4 hour thing. So like
Yeah.
an hour into Batman and they're all leaving to go home and it's like 11:30 at night and we're like, we got an hour left in Batman. This is kind of sucking the energy out of the room. Which sucks because I love Batman, but Superman kind of cut the energy for me and it wasn't as much fun to watch Batman on that big screen, which is a little
Um,
disappointing.
what did you rub up against for Superman, the 1978 version?
If I can remember, I mean, it was so long ago. This was like 4 years ago or 5 years ago. If I remember correctly, I just I didn't fully connect with Gene Hackman as Lex Luthor as a villain. I didn't really understand what his. I've always had an issue with like live action depictions of Lex Luthor. Of like, I just don't understand what his motivation is a lot of the time. And most of the
Hmm.
time, he's just like, I am a megalomaniac, like evil billionaire who's trying to do billionaire things, which like I am against in real life. I am fervently anti-capitalist, fervently anti-billionaire. You would think that this would be like a good villain for me to like relate to, like, oh yeah, I hate this guy, but it doesn't feel like arch enemy kind of because I just can't take it seriously. I can't take like
Yeah.
billionaire archetype seriously. But in the animated versions that I've seen, I really like the Lex Luthor that I see in like the Justice League show and stuff, where he's a little more serious. He's not as like goofy as like Jesse Eisenberg or Gene Hackman was a little bit. It's hard to take him seriously, kind of.
Yeah,
And
that was definitely a
he's just
more
he's just
goofy
so much more.
rendition.
Yeah, he's much more intimidating. He's much more like of a challenge. I don't know. I enjoy the Lex Luthor depiction of like him in those animated shows a lot more, and I've never
Mhm.
really connected with him as a villain on like the big screen. And then in that original one, the effects were a little cheesy, the dialogue was a little cheesy, um, and I already don't really connect with Superman as like a hero, just because yeah, his planet gets destroyed, right? Which is
Yeah.
he's alone on this planet, and it's terrible. And this movie touches on this a lot of this idea that he is like a foreigner in this land, and there are people who hate him because of that. But he still like identifies as human because he's grown up here and he's grown up with these people, and he has like that human family that he relates to. And
Yeah.
to me, I'm like, yes, I get it, but like from the go, like your earliest memories are of you like interacting with humans. At no point did you ever not feel like you were a human other than the way people treat you. I don't know. As far as
Mhm.
origins go, I think there are better ones. I don't find it like
Mhm.
too traumatizing. It just feels like I understand why you are the beacon of hope because you just have like very good people in your life. You've had like a great upbringing, and the challenges you rise against are like just things that like any good natured person would want to fight against. And it makes too much sense. But like Batman is like there are so many things working against him for him to become the character that he is. He's raised privileged and wealthy, and then he has this traumatic event taken from him. And he could so easily like use that to further his like his hatred of the other like the lower classes and despise them, and but instead he like uses that like trauma and that experience to fuel his like quest for justice and his fight for what is right and what is good. I don't know, I
Mhm.
just fuck with Batman so much more. And also he's just a guy. Superman is an alien being who has like all of the greatest powers on the planet and can beat anybody and do anything a lot of the time. Batman is just like he's just a really smart, really tough guy, who has a lot of money. He has a lot of money, which is
And a
very
lot of prep time,
but he's just a
which
guy.
for sure. But no, I think that's because I also adore Batman. Again, like
Yeah.
he's fantastic. I love Batman stuff. Um, but I also love Superman. I
Okay.
watched the Superman animated show alongside the Batman animated series, and
It's so
like I
good.
have distinct memories of going to my grandma's house and like watching the Superman, like putting in the old DVD and everything, and
Hmm.
watching it, and it's great. Like it's so great. And then in Justice League, because again they bring those two shows together in Justice League, and so you see him being part of a team dynamic, and they always do a good job of like either sidelining him if he would be too powerful for the enemies, or like giving him enemies that would actually make him not be impervious. So like anything with magic or the kryptonite stuff like that, so that he is able to actually have a challenge, so that there are stakes involved. Um, so yeah, I just think that comes down to like creative writing, like finding a way to give Superman a challenge where he either can't punch his way out of it very easily, and he has to like be more concerned with just protecting people or outsmarting whoever his enemy is, like with the Mister Mixelplix, what's his name? That
Yeah,
guy.
you said it right, Mixoplex.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Or giving him someone that like he does have to go toe to toe with and fight, but again, they're like an actual challenge, or they have at least something to one up Superman. So yeah, I've never had issues. I know a lot of people have issues with that of like, oh, Superman, there's just he can beat anything. He's never gonna lose anything like that. So
Hmm.
they can't get invested in him. Whereas again with Batman, he's a guy. He has limits. Again, he's like impossibly good at so many things, but still, like if he gets hit by a car, he's gonna feel that. So I knew, I've, I knew of that criticism of Superman, but I've never really felt that same way. And then I do think like the whole construction of him as this beacon of hope, and he is just like he is a normal guy that got raised on a farm in Kansas, but he has these insane powers. And the whole thing of, I'm sure the Smallville show like tackles this. I never actually saw that, but it's just him constantly feeling like he's out of place because he has these insane powers, and
Hmm.
all he wants to try and do is just like fit in, but he's got this insane power, and so he's got to use it to help people because he's a good guy. He feels that urge to help people, and he has like the insane set of skills to be able to do that at like maximum capacity. So he does it. He goes out there and continuously helps people, inspires people, um, and I love that. Like I love that hopeful character, and I think this film does an excellent job of capturing that idea of Superman, of like this good natured, friendly guy that just wants to go out and help anyone and everyone that he can. Um, and yeah, that was something that the original Superman definitely had. I think that film was probably too long, and it has like 40 to 50 minutes without Christopher Reeve in it. Um,
Yes, thank you. That is the problem. Yes.
but once he shows up, it's like, oh, this is great. Like him and his banter with Lois, it's still the best like Clark Kent depiction, I think. Like in this Superman
Sure.
film, we
I think I could agree.
hardly get Clark Kent. So yeah, he does great as like the dual Clark Kent and Superman thing. Um, so yeah, so I love that depiction, of course. And then with Man of Steel, it's definitely a different take on the character. He's a lot more mopey rather than like inspiring and hopeful and joyful and everything. But I still
Mhm.
think a good depiction of like the struggle of this guy that has insane powers and wants to help people, but people are going to be afraid of him and not trust him and all that. So this film, we sort of get the marriage of the two, where we're getting the big, hopeful Superman that loves helping people and is beloved by a lot of people, but then we also see how quickly they will mistrust him or not trust him anymore because of the whole Jor-El message, which we'll get into. But yeah, I think it did a good job of conveying what I think is like very interesting about Superman is, yeah, he's an alien that is insanely powerful and could, if he wanted to, just like wreck shop, like destroy us all basically. But he
Yeah.
doesn't, because he's such a good person, and all he wants to do is use that to help us out. Um, so yeah, I think this Superman is a great start to the DCU. A great way to introduce this character to a new generation of people. Um, so yeah, let's talk more
Yeah.
about it. What was your thoughts on 2025 James Gunn's Superman?
I think it's a lot of fun. I There are aspects of the script that I really enjoy. I like that he cut out the uh
The
origin
origin
story.
story.
I again I Is I think James Gunn went on record saying that Batman, Superman, and Spider Man, you don't need to see their origin story anymore. We've done it so many times, you know it, like you know it by heart. And
Hmm.
I, for one, absolutely agree. I mean, the Batman did the same thing. They cut out the origin story because you just don't need that anymore. Like we know, we get it. This is what happened. Let's just watch this version of this superhero do his thing.
Yep.
And the Tom Holland Spider-Man movies are the same thing. Like we don't need to know his origin story about how he became Spider-Man. Let's just start with him as Spider-Man. Uh, it has a lot of great sequences. It's a lot of fun at a lot of times, and I found myself just like very entertained watching it and enjoying it. It has moments of like really greatness where I think Superman is being like the beacon and the symbol that he's supposed to be. But I think a lot of the time, and I don't know yet if it's like a good idea or a bad idea. You have to see how the DCU plans out. But a lot of the time, he's trying to kind of humanize Superman, which is the point of the movie, so that he just feels like another person.
Hmm.
But also, I don't know, because Henry Cavill's version of Superman was that he is a god. Like he is a god among men.
Yes.
Let us watch these people like bow down to him because he is a god to them. And
Yep.
I think that yeah, he's really trying to make it more campy and enjoyable, which I get. And then like he humanizes David Cornsweet quite a lot. Am I saying his last name right? Cornsweet?
Yep.
Okay. And I just we'll have to see how it pans out. But I think as Superman goes on, I think he's supposed to become more and more of that symbol. So that even if superhero were to one day go away, like the image of Superman lasts forever. And I think they have these ideas in there. I think the image, I guess we can get to spoilers now. The image of Superman like stopping the building from falling on the woman and then lifting up and her looking in the rearview mirror to see Superman coming out of the ashes carrying the building. I think that is like a
Hmm.
really good shot where he feels more like just this powerful symbol of like fighting against oppression and against evil and fighting for justice, which I like and I respect. And then there's other things that are like he's modernizing Superman to fit the current, you know, political landscape that we've got going on. He's
Yeah.
leaning
How does
into
social media feel about Superman?
Yeah, he's leaning into the social media aspects, and he's leading into like the geopolitical landscape that we're in right now, and applying like name swapping real countries that are doing things right now with these fake countries that are doing the exact same things in the Superman world. The Superman is now fighting against and talking about the political implications of Superman's allegiances if he makes these decisions.
Hmm.
And I do
Which
really
I
like
thought was
that.
great. I thought that was very compelling. The Lois and Clark
I
conversation where
love
they're
their
doing that
like
interview.
10-minute
That was
interview
amazing.
sequence is a very good way to like know their characters, know their relationship, and then also explain kind of where we are as Superman and like the consequences of his actions and decisions. I like that a lot. And I like both of their arguments here because they both have points. But I think Superman, David Cornsweet's version of Superman, as time goes on in future movies, needs to lean more into the I am Superman, like my word is law type thing. But his like word is just good and justice.
Hmm.
Because I think he like feels iffy on it to me in this movie, which is fine because he's only been doing it for 3 years, and there are like consequences to his actions, as like in terms of like the political landscape. But I think he needs to lean more into like these people were going to do evil things, and I stopped them, and there are no more questions.
Right. That like that stuff is very compelling
Yeah.
because this one was obviously a textbook case of like, yeah, there's one obvious good thing to do.
Hmm.
However, it would still have ripple effects and everything. Like it's a complicated world, so
Yeah.
they even established like the U.S. is an ally to Paravia, and so that causes some issues there. But Superman, again, he's not acting in the interest of any nation. He's acting in the interest of good, and so he was going to do whatever it took to save lives. So like that's great. But then in context of the real world, this is why like the whole Sokovia Accords thing with Civil War in the MCU,
Hmm.
because that would be the real questions people are having. Like at a certain point, not everything is going to be as simple and black and white. Um, and then there's going to be collateral damage. There's going to be things like that. So what do you do when you have a superhero that can just literally be like, okay, you say this, your laws say this, but I have the final word. And what are you going to do to stop me?
Yeah.
Like that stuff is compelling. I mean, that's part of what Lex Luthor brings up here of like, we need to have some way to keep this guy in check
Mhm.
because he could just do whatever he wanted and we would have no way to stop that.
That's what I really liked about Man of Steel going into Batman versus Superman, specifically Zack Snyder's cut of Batman versus Superman, because there's just more scenes in there that explain away a lot of the plot holes that the theatrical version has. But
Mm-hmm.
the development from Man of Steel being this is a fight between Superman and General Zod, and they are just destroying Metropolis, and they are like godly beings just having their fight out, and in the end Superman has to kill him, which is like he thinks is like the brink of like his morality because he's against killing even in the Henry Cavill version, and he like has to do that to keep Zod from laser beaming civilians,
Mm-hmm.
and he has to like reconcile that sort of action and like the morality of that. At the same time, once you get into the very beginning of Batman vs Superman, it's Bruce Wayne, Ben Affleck's version, and he's now in Metropolis, and he is like watching them from the ground level just destroy the city and like shatter people's lives and like almost kill people and probably do kill people. In Zack Snyder's version, I'm sure plenty of people died in that fight, like civilians. And
Yeah.
you like watching this happen. I think they do in the like building parts fall down and crush people. And of course, this is James Gunn Superman. It's got to be more hopeful, has to be more happy. And there are moments where Superman is like stopping the Justice Gang from causing more collateral damage and like almost killing people and civilians.
Yeah. Like a
And
very obvious,
yeah,
I don't even know if it's a wink and a nod because like if you're Zack Snyder, you're probably like, oh, like thanks that you took the biggest criticism of my movie that like there's just all this wanton destruction that Superman didn't care about, which is a valid criticism and the right one because yeah, Superman was throwing Zod through buildings
yeah,
and just didn't care of like what was happening. We didn't see him save like a single person in that fight. But I just think it's funny that this one like was just a very obvious him being
mhm,
like, look at Superman doing everything he can to save a squirrel during this fight. Like he's
yeah,
saving anything and everything. Which again, I think is a good choice. I just think it's funny to like that meta narrative of Man of Steel getting all this criticism. So James Gunn is trying to make sure he doesn't get
yeah.
the same flack.
But I like that about Man of Steel and then about Batman versus Superman as that like main conflict between them is Ben Affleck is, or as Batman is now kind of taking over what Lex Luthor is in this movie of saying like this person is like not in check and he needs to be put in check because of the collateral damage he's causing, which is, in my opinion, inevitable if you are the super being Superman. Like, I mean, James Gunn does go to lengths to explain that Superman is there to stop any kind of like horrible destruction here and is fighting against it. And they do explain at the very end that Metropolis is evacuated, but somebody had to have died in that fight. There's no way there's
That's what I'm
zero
saying too. But
casualties.
yeah, that whole the ending as well, where it's like and everyone evacuated, like they got
Yeah.
everyone out of the city when
Zero
there's just
casualties, no
hole
way.
being torn
Absolutely
through
no.
it.
And
I'm
this is
like,
like a consequence of Superman just existing is that there will be people who like Lex Luthor who will want to fight and beat Superman, and the consequence of that fight is collateral damage in the form of like civilian deaths. I mean, the Lex Luthor shoots a guy in the head, you know, and that like destroys Superman a little bit for a second there of like this is a consequence of me just existing.
yeah. Which that was one moment that I wasn't too big a fan of because he's doing the Russian roulette thing, but
Mhm.
he's like asking Superman direct questions, and Superman doesn't answer, which is what causes him to get shot. That one dude, um, and I'm like, that's kind of a horrible thing there. That like you had Superman not answer despite the gun being to the other guy's head, and then he got shot. Like that is kind of on Superman in that moment. So I don't know. It was interesting to me that he would take these steps to like protect Superman's image. He's going to save everyone. The whole city's evacuated, so no one dies, and all this catastrophic stuff. But then when it's just Superman, and on the other end, Luthor has a gun to somebody's head, asks him a point blank question, and Superman doesn't answer, so that guy dies. And then
Mhm.
later with Ultraman, Superman just chucks him into the black hole, not a thought, care in the world. I'm like, Superman would have like after destroying all this stuff that is all those like cameras and whatnot that Luthor was using to control Ultraman, like he would have found a way to like chill Ultraman out, be like, this is just some clone, he doesn't know what's going on, and then you
It
would
was
try and
actually
help
just
him.
yeah,
You
it's
wouldn't just chuck
bizarre.
him into the black hole. So I'm like he goes very into this is what Superman would do in some places, but then other places I'm like, that's not at all what Superman would do. So
Yeah,
it's a little wonky
which is
there.
why I think I like Henry Cavill's version more, the Zack Snyder version more, because he does things that you don't think Superman would do, but it's consistent with that vision of Superman.
Yeah, that world, like Zack Snyder's world, is very specific. Like, yeah, the whole
Very specific
God
and consistent.
analogy is there. They beat that to death there, and
Yeah,
then everything that happens, like in Batman versus Superman, responds to everyone's criticism of Man of Steel, which is great. Like taking that and being like, yeah, half that city got killed, and Superman was, fighting Zod. His focus was just on Zod, so maybe he couldn't focus on healing or like saving
mhm.
other people. And people got really mad about that, including Batman. Like it's a great way to, within the context of that world Zack Snyder created, like it's all pretty consistent. It all makes sense.
Yeah.
Whereas this one, there's so much going on, establishing a larger universe. Other heroes already exist, the Justice Gang, stuff like that. Um, and so, as you said, he's trying to do this lighter, campier version of Superman,
It
which
is
is
fun.
great.
It is
But
fun and entertaining.
he needs to have stakes involved and real like danger, and so that's what we did with that whole Russian roulette thing. But again, I just don't know. I don't know that Superman would have like
Yeah.
bit his tongue in that
He's still
scenario.
going to like protect his family over saving the
Yeah,
civilian's life in this moment, as opposed to like potentially risking his family in a situation that he might be able to save later in order to try and save the life in front of him. You're right. I don't know if Superman would make that call.
yeah.
Also,
So
I don't know if do you really believe that Superman would just exist in the world and not have like a backup plan or a failsafe to like save Martha and Pa Kent, Mom Pa
right,
Kent?
it's funny.
If
Yeah,
like a like there's no like backup plan in case their location gets revealed or something.
maybe
They don't
that's
have like
another
a
way
there's no way
James
for them
Gunn
to get
is.
to the Fortress of Solitude or anything.
Well, yeah, and the Fortress of Solitude had got breached, and he didn't have any system of like being notified for that. So I don't know what's going on
Yeah.
there. But yeah, maybe this was another
He
way
doesn't know
James Gunn.
Batman. Batman's the one who has the backup plans, the backup plans for the backup plans.
Yeah,
He's
well, maybe
the
this
he's
will
the be
teach
prepared kind of guy.
Superman. But he's 3 years in. He should know. I mean, he's got to have something.
Yeah.
He's apparently lying to the Justice Gang about the glasses being a hypno thing or whatever, which I think is
No,
a nod to something in the comics.
I think
But
that's real. Is what James Gunn said. Is that I think James Gunn was saying he didn't like that him wearing the glasses was just like a thing, and he wanted to explain why wearing the glasses would be a like good disguise, and that's his way of
mhm,
explaining it.
interesting.
So it's not just him lying to the Justice
Then why would
Gang. It's like
Lois say? Because he's like, but the glasses, and she's like, that won't fool everyone forever. But it would fool them if it's literally changing his like face to people.
yeah, I
And
agree.
also, so what happens if he like drops his glasses, and then do they suddenly see
Oh,
his real face, and they're like, what the heck? Who are you? Like,
Moran,
okay.
where did Clark Kent go?
Yeah, I feel like that would cause more problems, but okay,
Yeah,
fair enough.
I mean, I
Um,
guess Superman just got to keep the glasses on. I don't know.
but yeah.
I mean, the perm
Anyway,
helps.
Henry Cavill Superman was very willing to shout Martha when he needed, and David Cornsweet would not
Yeah.
give up the names of his parents. So there you go, another big
Why did you
difference.
say that name?
But yeah, so some issues there with the characterization, some of the choices with Superman, but overall, like I do love David Corden Sweat as Superman.
He's
And I
very good.
do again, I think Henry Cavill for what he was like supposed to do, the Superman in that world, which is meant to be more like a real world and how the real
Mhm.
world would respond to Superman and how he would feel being like these
He's
people
not
will
as
hate me,
hopeful of
they'll
a
be
Superman.
afraid of me.
He's like a real person.
Exactly, yeah. So I think he did a great job for that version, but like this is like what I would want to see in this universe. Like I think this
Yeah.
is definitely the version of Superman I want to see play out over a 10, 20 year
Yeah,
universe that they're building up.
I would agree.
So I'm happy with that. I'm very happy. And with all the other characters as well. So Luther, you were saying you've always sort of had issues with live action depictions. Nicholas Holt
Yeah.
coming in to be Lex Luthor this time.
I
What
think
do
he
you
does a
think?
good job. Once again, I think he falls into the trap of playing Lex Luthor as kind of a baby, which maybe the bald head just makes them want to do that. But I felt that way about Jesse Eisenberg, who had full head of hair, I guess, in Batman vs Superman. But
He
I
did.
felt like that was like playing him like a baby. I thought Gene Hackman. I mean, I guess just like the temptation to play like the rich guy as kind of like childish and frustrated, I think is very tempting. I think they were trying to make a comparison to current day billionaire figures in a way. Uh, I just I don't know. I think Lex Luthor, if he's going to be an arch nemesis, which maybe they'll change his characterization now that he is like been exposed as a villain in the world and is now like arrested and a prisoner. Maybe they'll change his characterization the same way that they try to do it with Jesse Eisenberg in the Justice League movies.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. I always thought if he's going to be if like Superman is the ultimate superhero and he needs like an ultimate villain, I like that it's like a normal guy like Bruce Wayne who is just like rich and does not have any powers himself. I like that the ultimate combat for Superman is just someone who is incredibly intelligent. But he also has to be intimidating, and I just don't find this depiction or any other live action depiction of Lex Luthor that intimidating.
Mm.
I have not seen Michael Rosenbaum. I have not seen the Kevin Spacey version. I've only seen Jesse Eisenberg, Nicholas Hoult, and Gene Hackman. And I just
Gotcha.
don't find it very intimidating. He just seems like a wealthy guy who's making choices a lot of the times for the sake of money, sometimes for the sake of land, and I guess in this case he's just racist. He's just racist against Superman and aliens. He just goes on a very long rant about how he hates that there's an alien here who's stronger than him. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think obviously a great part of Lex Luthor's character is that he is very clearly insecure and jealous in terms of like Superman's scale and power.
Yeah.
But I think they just play that really on the nose in this movie, and they don't make it more of like a subtle character feature about him that like gets revealed through his actions. He just like says he like I think in the end he says like, yeah, of course I'm jealous of you. Like he just like admits it. He's like, of
Yeah,
course.
but then he's like, but that's my strength because it allows me to like go to all these lengths to
Yeah.
beef up humanity's ability to take you down. That I think they do nail some of that stuff. Like he is supposed to be like this petty hater. Like he's just the number one hater on Earth, and part of that comes from the insecurity of
But I
like
don't want
these
Superman's
people love
arch
him
nemesis to just
for
be a
things
petty
that
hater.
he doesn't control. Like he gets to come here to this world, and just by virtue of a yellow sun, he has all these powers and is incredible and beloved. And I have to, you know, create this whole Luther Corp and be a tech genius and all this stuff,
Which
and
isn't it LexCorp?
doesn't get
I
that
thought it was
same
LexCorp.
level
Am
of
I
love and
wrong?
admiration. It's just that thing of like powerful people, their biggest Achilles heel is they just want to be loved. They could have all the power, but they still desperately crave being beloved. And this guy doesn't get that in the same way Superman will always get that. And so
Yeah,
that's part of his whole
I agree.
his
Yeah, of
like hatred
course.
of him.
But in terms of show don't tell, there's a lot of tell in this movie.
Well, they do the one big rant there at the end, but I was fine with that. I mean, we need villains get their villain speeches. It's a thing for a reason.
So
I
you
thought
liked
he was
this
having
depiction
fun
of
with
Lex
it.
Luthor?
Hmm?
You like this depiction of Lex Luthor?
I do. I thought he played like all the various elements pretty well. Like he has the cockiness that he has in all the other things. Like when he's showing up to the Fortress of Solitude and it's like, yeah, I got my uh, Ultraman here, the DNA. I'm able to get in. The arrogance that you need to have is like the number one biggest, richest man in the world and everything. But also his like, again, the bratty pettiness of like, I want to win. I want to have the ball, and this other person's better, and I hate that. And so he's just is crashing out about it constantly. Like I love that because that's part of Luther too. So I think he plays the various elements that I want out of a Luther very
Mm,
well. But particularly again, like he needs to be a generational hater, man. He needs to be like top tier seething hatred for this guy, and he
yeah.
has that. I think for your point of like the intimidation and whatnot, we'll see where they go with it. They're doing the smart thing of going to have him be a long term villain, which is great. And then there's other ways that Luther can come in and shake things up for Superman and eventually the Justice League. So I'm interested to see what they do there. If they make him even more like ruthless and tries to be more intimidating. Um, but yeah, the one thing I won't like is like when he was crashing out and then Crypto comes in and just starts beating him up,
Mhm.
very Hulk and
Cartoonishly,
Loki
yeah.
coded
Yeah,
from
yeah,
the
yeah.
Avengers. I'm like, we've seen this before, and it did make Luther seem like very pathetic, which is what they're
Yeah.
going for. But it's like you do need to just let him have his moment of like standing toe to toe with Superman and being like, I hate you and I will be your downfall, blah, blah, blah. Like, screw you and your, you know, speech about humanity and the goodness and everything. Like, just let that play out. Like, let them have their
Mhm.
battle of words and philosophies rather than a little gag for crypto that we've had plenty of gags the rest of the movie with. So that part I didn't like.
Thoughts on Crypto?
I mean, he's fun. Like,
Yeah, fun
I
little dog.
heard many things in the audience of people going like, "Oh," or laughing and all this, and that. So it was a very smart choice to add crypto. James Gunn knows how to make people fall in love with animals and whatnot. So
Yeah.
it was a good choice.
Let's talk about the
But
side characters a little bit because this movie is very overstuffed. I think a little bit with just so many characters that you have to keep track of,
yeah,
and I think he does a good job trying to balance it all. I think they all have their moments, and I think we understand them as characters pretty well. They're like very well characterized, but it is just like a lot to be put into like the first Superman movie here.
for sure.
So, do you have any favorites? Do you have any least favorites?
I did like the Justice Gang.
Yeah.
Again, it's like him going to the same well as Guardians of the Galaxy and Suicide Squad and everything. But I'm like, you know what? They're great. Nathan Fillion is hilarious as Guy Gardner.
Oh yeah.
Pavolka is great. Um, Isabella Merced was
Mhm.
Dina in The Last of Us.
Yep.
She's great.
She is great.
She's gorgeous and very likable, like just effortlessly likable. She was like
Mhm.
kind of the best part of The Last of Us season two. And then here, even though I have qualms with the character of Hawk Girl that they're like gonna do, because she doesn't seem to be the like Egyptian reincarnation version or
Yeah.
the Thanagar version, which is my preferred thing. So she's just like
A girl.
some girl with
Yeah.
wings and
Barbie
everything. So I
powers.
don't know what
Yeah.
they're going to do with that, but I did like her, even though she wasn't a part of it much. And then Mr. Terrific, I think he also did a good job here of like a character that once upon a time is definitely like what a joke, like D tier character. He came off very cool and awesome in this one. So
Yeah.
like I liked them. I rolled my eyes at some things like the Mr. Terrific wonder shot that they had with him and Lois, and he's like throwing his T spheres at
Not a
everything.
fan of that one.
No, I was like, none of the action in this film was that compelling to me.
Sure.
This was probably, you know, the coolest of them, but even that, I was just like, eh.
Yeah.
But yeah, what do you think of Justice Gang? And then did you have any side characters that you were fond of?
I enjoyed is it Jimmy Olsen? Jimmy Olsen.
Jimmy Olsen, yep.
I enjoyed Jimmy
David
Olsen.
Tennant.
Skylar
I did like
Gisondo.
him. Yeah.
Very well done. I was not a big fan of the supporting newspaper cast.
Mm.
You know, I don't think they have Wendell Pierce in there enough. What's his character's name? The editor?
Um,
I can't remember.
are you talking about the boss,
Yeah, the boss. I can't
Perry
remember.
White? Yeah.
Perry White. They don't have Perry White in it enough, in my opinion, because they just don't do a lot of Clark Kent scenes. Really, they have like two, I think, where he's in the office, and then they make an appearance towards the end of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
But and then I just didn't understand the presence of like that supporting cast of
Yeah.
newspaper people that are in like the ship with them at the end. I don't understand their placement there or what are they like trying to build out like a world in because they're
I
trying to
think
build out
so.
a world
Because I
in
mean,
the
those are comic characters.
yeah, but they don't
Historically, it's only been like Perry White and Jimmy Olsen will be like the side characters. But
yeah.
Jimmy Olsen, for instance, got treated horribly in the Zack Snyder version. So
Mhm.
they got him, and he got to shine a little bit more. And then they had the other characters as well. I don't know what they're planning to do. I I don't know. Maybe a Daily Planet
Yeah, it
show,
just seemed
television
like
show, or something like that.
a lot of
Which
characters to just kind of be there to have like quite a few moments on screen to really contribute nothing except for maybe like some bits of comedic relief, but not
yeah,
really.
I think ultimately, yeah, there wasn't much like going on there. Even at the end, when Perry White does the thing of like print it, kid, and it's like, was he not a good reporter before this? Was he not trusted? Like we don't have any real investment in like
Yeah.
him getting congratulations from Perry White.
I
So
think it could have just been Lois Lane and Jimmy Olsen, and I would have gotten the same effect. of
Yeah,
like that entire Daily Planet storyline. So I
for
was not
sure.
a
But
fan of the Daily Planet extras there.
I don't think it
Yeah.
detracted anything from me, but it just wasn't very additive. But there were some funny jokes in there, like when he was like, "Why don't I have a seat?" And then they took off, and then he gets flung to the
Sure,
back.
I guess.
I thought that was funny.
Justice Gang, big fan of them as individuals. I think their chemistry works together a bit, and I look forward to seeing what happens to them in the
Here's
future.
my question though. So
Yeah.
now is this like canonically in the DCU? These are going to be the founding members of the Justice League because they
Yeah.
were at the Hall of Justice. Like that
Yeah.
was where they were. That was their headquarters. So I'm like, we're
100%.
going to have Guy Gardner, Mister Terrific, and Hawkgirl as our founding members.
Who
I don't
are
know that
being
I'm a fan of that.
financed by like a very wealthy tech guy
Yeah, they're
or
being
something.
financed by Maxwell Lord. But I'm like, what's going on here?
We'll
So
see. I mean, technically, they're not the Justice League; they're still the Justice
that is
Gang.
true. But
We got to wait till Wonder Woman and Batman show up, and then Wonder Woman, Batman, and Superman can form the actual Justice League and kick the other people out.
yeah, they said you're gone. Like
Because
we have
then
a
at
few
that point, they
other
won't need Maxwell Lord's funding because they'll have Bruce Wayne's funding, which is
exactly.
kind of what is implied in the rest of the Justice League, canon is that it's funded by Bruce Wayne.
Hmm.
But I don't know. Other side characters, Metamorpho, it's fun. Good explanation for bringing kryptonite in when there's almost no kryptonite left on the planet. And I think he does get moments. Uh, I
Wasn't too fond of it. I
wasn't too
thought,
fond of the baby stuff,
yeah,
like
the
the
baby stuff
action
was
sequence where he's
odd,
trying to save the baby.
and then with like the explanation of the powers, and he's like a floating head going around. My question, which I can't remember, I don't remember anything from Justice League, the animated show that would address it, but like, does he not have any anatomy at all? Like, he doesn't have a heart because he was just a head at that point. So my man's just
Couldn't tell
chilling.
you.
Like, he doesn't need to breathe. So I
I
don't
mean,
know what's going
apparently
on there.
every part of his body, organs included, can change into different uh, elements, and so perhaps he changed into the combination that makes air or something.
Yeah, I'm not
Who
sure,
knows?
but I did think the whole pocket universe stuff and the proton river and whatnot was definitely the part. Like, I think the first half is great. I was locked in all the way. The middle half, starting from when that one dude got popped, when Superman didn't answer the question, from then on, I was a little less
Yeah,
engaged by everything. And then the proton river stuff, because Superman uses the air to stop him and everyone else from going into the black hole. Like the logistics of that, I just
just
don't even understand how that's even possible.
yeah. I
And
feel
then
like
why
the
he
black
didn't do
hole
that
is pretty
earlier
strong, right?
in the proton river. But again, yeah, he has to. But like, what are you even blowing against in a black hole?
But if he has the ability to blow himself, sorry, if he has the ability to blow wind,
Wow! Now I know they call him Superman.
yeah,
Jeez,
if he has
what
the
a
ability to
power!
blow wind strong enough to combat the forces of a black hole, why doesn't he just do that every time? Why doesn't he blow wind on every villain and send them soaring into the space?
Yeah, like immediately done and done.
Yeah,
Just blow on the Earth to put it back together when the rift is opening up.
yeah.
You know. So yeah, that part wasn't great. And then again, the other major like action set piece that I thought was Dookie from like a logical standpoint was the him versus the engineer when she's putting the nanites in his lungs, and he just
Yeah,
takes off to space. They follow him, and
yeah.
then he starts doing a suicide dive down all the way to the earth.
I don't
And it's
understand
like,
how the
what was the
suicide
plan?
dive. Yeah, I
What
don't
was
understand
he doing?
how does the suicide dive cause the nanites to exit his body.
I don't know.
Is it
I
because
have
it
no
just
idea.
knocks out the engineer and the engineer is controlling the nanites?
I thought maybe that's what it was. Like he was, or
If
maybe
he
he
can,
thought there
yeah,
was
if
a
he can
range on there.
incapacitate the engineer, maybe
But
it'll.
again, wouldn't that? Because again, it was like it made no sense the way they just crashed through. We didn't even really see the impact. We just saw them like go down into a subway thing.
Yeah,
The impact would have been much larger if they were following all the way from like space, the
yeah.
stratosphere. But also, like the engineer would have died from that. Like, was that his plan? Like, if he was
It's
doing
amazing
the
the
suicide
engineer
dive
didn't die
down,
from that. Yeah,
she would have totally been dead. Um, so yeah, that seemed like very poorly constructed
I
to
think she
me.
says as they're dive bombing and she's like stuck to him because she can't get out. She's saying like, "I'm not gonna make this. I'm gonna die."
Yeah, and then they were like disengage, and then she didn't, and then survived. Like she was fine. I
Yeah,
was like, okay,
she got incredibly lucky. Like Superman just attempted to kill her, and she
yeah.
just got lucky.
So that stuff I didn't think was great, and then we have the whole Ultraman thing.
To me, I think it's the
Um,
idea of Superman being like able to be beaten. I think is a good. I think it's a good idea, and I think they do a lot of work to make villains that are worthy of fighting Superman. That makes sense that he can be beaten. Ultraman
mhm,
is obviously just a Superman clone. It's Bizarro, and then the Kaiju is obviously this giant creature that he has to fight against. But the Engineer, even this version of Superman, I think this version of Superman, who is less powerful than other versions intentionally, I think could still beat the Engineer. I'm not
yeah,
gonna lie.
fairly quickly, and all the
I guess
Raptors as
the
well, which he
Engineer was
does at the end
still.
anyway.
I guess the argument is the Engineer is also using moves that Lex Luthor is feeding her in the same way that he's feeding it to Bizarro. Because I think he does call out moves to her as she fights.
Yeah,
So maybe
which
you
is
could argue
also
it's still just Lex Luthor.
very silly. But this one outside is like comic book silliness of it's easier for him to just shout out a memorized list of combat moves rather than it just being a program already in AI or something like that, or him just being in like some haptic suit and like doing the stuff for
He's like a
Ultraman or
coach calling
whatever.
plays in the NFL.
Yeah. But he's just like 1A, 1A, 1A. And it's like, what if someone forgot like what 1A is? Because each of those minions are having to like insert the move, right? So,
They just type what he says, and then, or no, he's just saying it out loud to Bizarro, and Bizarro has them memorized.
hmm, interesting. I will say, highlight was the Justice Gang showing up at Jarhanpur. I thought that was
Yeah.
a great way because he's calling out for Superman, and then you see not Superman show up, but the influence of Superman, the way he inspired the Justice Gang to go out there and
Mhm.
do some good. So I thought that was great. And again, seeing Green Lantern walk by and all the tanks are getting flipped over, and he's flipping them the bird
Yeah,
with
that's sick.
the green hands. I thought that was all great. Um, Another big concern though for the film was the arc Superman goes on
Mhm.
and really the lack thereof. Because we get the whole thing of Jor-El's message, which is that he's sent to conquer Earth and rule over humanity and repopulate Krypton, basically with a secret harem. And
Dude,
so
Superman being pro harem is crazy. So many people say harem in this
I
movie. It's
know it's
awesome.
wild.
I love when
So
Guy Gardner walks in and goes, "Dude, you didn't tell me you had a harem."
so yeah, that was like an interesting diversion from the regular story because again, even Man of Steel goes all in on the Jor-El stuff, being
Yeah.
inspiring and
It's been like
telling
15 minutes in the beginning of the movie showing Jor-El. It's Russell Crowe.
exactly, yeah, telling Kal-El to be a good man and like lead them, save them, all that stuff. Here, Bradley Cooper is like, nah, repopulate, man,
Do
take
what you
them all
must.
as wives. So big departure from regular Superman canon, but they did it in service of Superman having this identity crisis, I guess, of like
I love in this day and age they have to go through the effort of explaining that it's not like deep fake. Like it's like the video
I
has been
know
unedited.
Mr.
We've
Turpin's
done
like,
the
no, no, no,
analysis. It is
they like
real. It's a
everyone has seen
real
this.
video.
It's
Like
real.
they have to go through the effort. But like if the same plot point had happened in the 1978 Superman, there's no explaining that the video is real. Like you just assume that the video is real because you can't fake a video. You
Yeah,
know, I think that's really really funny in this day and age. We have to be like, okay, this video happened. Also, we checked. It's real. This really happened. Like he really said this.
hmm
Also,
so
how is the engineer able to recover the second
and
half of the
translate
video?
the Kryptonian stuff. Like I have no idea, but
Well, one can argue that because he says the top 20 linguists in the world have verified this is the rest of the message. One can argue that linguists could figure, maybe not that quick, but they could figure out what is being said, even in a language that is foreign to them.
mm,
Maybe, perhaps not an alien language, but I mean, the plot of Arrival, the entire point of it is like deciphering an alien language, and it is believable. It just takes them months,
yeah,
as
it takes
opposed to
time.
Superman, where it's like they do it in like 30 minutes.
True, but I mean, maybe in the computer because how did Clark learn it anyway? So they probably had
Oh, fair,
translation stuff
yeah.
in there.
Computer
Um,
analyze.
but yeah, so he does this message, and then Superman kind of maybe has an identity crisis, but not really. Like, are we supposed to believe at all that because Jor-El's message wasn't like, "Hey, serve humanity," it was actually, "Hey, rule over humanity," that Clark was going to do anything differently? Like, he wasn't going to give up being Superman. He
No,
doesn't
but
stop
it
being
like
Superman at
is
any
a
point.
marker of his identity that he is good because of this message from Jor-El, but then like the change in him is supposed to be that he's good because of the lessons imbued upon him by his real parents, the humans, which I dislike because I thought that's the whole point of Superman is that he's like both the child of aliens who are good and the child of humans who are also good. And he just like got lucky in that regard. Because there's Red Sun Superman, who's Superman that landed in USSR Russia, and he's like a Soviet spy and like
Yeah.
very much like an antagonist in that universe. But in this world, because he landed where he was and he was raised by very good parents in Kansas, he is like a good person who wants to do good for the world. And I thought that was something that was like already known to Superman at this point in his career, and that we've all known about his character. And so it's like it's hinging the emotional storyline for Superman on a fact that everybody knew, including Superman. And so
Hmm.
there's not really an emotional beat there to me.
Yeah. And again, there's like no
It's like if we were watching a
real change
Batman
there.
movie and halfway through we realize his parents were killed, and that's supposed to be like an emotional moment for us. But it's like we we know for a movie that is talking about skipping Superman's origin story, they do a lot of work about making his origin story be the arc that he has to go on.
Yeah. But again, not a real arc anyway, because all it is just Pa Kent is like, you get to choose to be who you are, and your parents don't tell you who you are.
Yeah.
And it's like, again, Superman wasn't going to do, like, in no world would we ever believe that he would do anything other than what he was already doing, which is go out and like save people and help
He
people.
doesn't believe that either.
So,
He knows that he's going to keep helping people. He's just
exactly.
having like an identity crisis
So
of like,
it's just not that strong of a like dilemma for Superman to overcome because he's not ever really challenged and isn't at risk of like changing any of his behavior
yeah,
as a result of the Jor-El thing. It's just how other people perceive him, which again he's like bummed about. But even then,
yeah,
he's still not going to let that stop him. So it's like there just wasn't really an arc there. But
yeah.
um,
Being a good person and going to Thanksgiving and hearing your parents just say racist things you didn't know they believed isn't gonna like fundamentally change you as a person. It just kind of sucks, you know?
yeah.
Right?
What are the thoughts on like the Kents? You know, would they be?
Underutilized.
Hmm?
Underutilized. They just kind of
Yeah, I would
show
say
up
so.
for a bit of it, and it's supposed to be the emotional turning point in the movie, and it's not very emotional.
Yeah,
So, in my words, underutilized.
very true. But what if Clark came back and then the Kents were now racist? Like, what
Dude,
if they like they're heavy anti-vaxxers, they're QAnon enthusiasts? Like, what
you
happens?
aren't who your parents make you. You are what the government's trying to make you into with the vaccines they put into your body, son.
You're just a big mush. Forget that vaccine. So that'd be a
Oh,
compelling
what?
story, which would be, obviously too politically,
Yeah.
third rail to touch on, but
Have you seen Eddington yet?
I have not.
I watched it last night. Oh, oh,
You
it
liked
was.
it?
I did like it. It's my favorite movie of the
Okay.
year so far,
Oh wow.
but it is a lot.
I'm sure.
It's his most uncomfortable movie by far for me personally. It makes
That's saying
me.
something. What the
It is.
heck?
Which of his movies have you seen? So have you seen all of them?
Not Hereditary, but
Oh,
everything else.
dude. I mean, it made me very, very uncomfortable. And Bo is Afraid made me very uncomfortable when I watched it. But this movie, it like gives me just a bad feeling in my under my skin while I'm watching certain scenes. That makes
Mhm.
me want to just like get up and leave the theater. And there's like nothing about it that is super bizarre, which is what's even worse. It's more unsettling in that way. Ugh, you gotta watch it. It's very good.
Okay, I'll do that.
I
But
can understand why people might not like it, but I liked it.
hmm, all right. So, any other elements of Superman that you want to talk about?
I think it's a good start for the DCU. I think it needs to change more into, I think, just better emotional arcs and bigger moments. I think
Mm,
it feels like a good starting off point, but it needs to grow more, I guess. which I
Gotcha.
think is the plan. They Supergirl coming out. They're doing a Clayface movie, which it seems early to be doing villain spin-off solo projects. But I think that was just something they had already in the works, and James Gunn saw it and was like, "This actually sounds really cool. Let's do it."
Yeah, I mean, as long as they don't, try and tie it too heavily into, DC stuff, like just have it be essentially a standalone thing,
Yeah,
and then the horror movie fans can go watch it, but then also maybe superhero fans, who knows? But yeah, I thought again, I really liked the way that this film was touching on real world stuff. I didn't think they would do it as much as they did, but they certainly with the whole Bravia Jarhanpur thing,
yeah,
and then even the monkey bots, like the social media
yeah,
stuff, the Tucker Carlson bit as well, like the interview that's just clearly Tucker Carlson.
yeah.
I thought was great. And then I thought they did a good job of being pretty restrained with like setting up things. They had the Supergirl thing come in, which I thought was nice, and
Hmm.
I'm excited now to see like party girl version of Supergirl. Um, and then they had Peacemaker show up, John Cena, which is one of the big laughs of the movie was him popping up. So
Hmm.
yeah, I think they did a good job of sprinkling in, you know, some things of the universe, and then obviously Justice Gang was a major part of this, but
Hmm.
we see there's a full universe here. Um, but I think they did well enough with establishing Superman, establishing Lois, like their dynamic. I think is really strong. I care about them. I definitely want to see David Cornsweet Superman go forward. I love
Yeah,
the characterization of it. So for me, it did what it needed to do as like a movie, but also as this launching pad for the rest of the DCU.
sure.
Now let me ask you,
Yeah,
Robert Pattinson's Batman, the Matt
yes,
Reeves, the Batman thing.
yeah.
I still think it would be insane and stupid and short sighted to have two separate Batmen going concurrently. I think they should merge
They're not going to have it go
Robert
concurrently. I
Pattinson
guarantee
with.
you. They're going to do Batman 2, and then that's going to be end of the Robert Pattinson
It's like,
Batmans.
why do that? You have Robert Pattinson, who's great, and you already established it. Like, just fold him in, have those be like his origin stuff, and then if you want to do a Batman Robin story, just have the next movie, the Batman 3 be Batman and Robin.
Batman Brave
Um,
and Bold.
yeah, the Brave and the Bold. Like that's
It,
what they call it. Andy Muschietti is supposed to be doing it, but
it is
and
just
he can. I
too
just say give Pattinson, let Pattinson still be Batman.
it is too stark of a difference in tone, if you
I
ask
don't
me.
think so, but that's also the point. That's what it's supposed to be. The Batman definitely is like its grounded own thing, Gotham City, but you can fold like a version of the Batman that's that dark and serious with the rest of this stuff. You just have to set that like the Batman stuff is earlier because it was early Batman. Then show us Batman 10 years later. And then again, just have him be like, wow, the world's crazy. I was dealing with street level serial killer villains like the Riddler. And now we got kaijus stomping around the city and everything. Have that be like part of the gag of him coming into this larger world. But I think the contrast of tones between Batman and Superman is always the best part of them. Like the big blue Boy Scout and Superman, and then this edgy wannabe loner figure in the Batman. And then they play off each other so well. I think you already
I
have it
don't know
done.
if
Like you
Robert
already have the
Pattinson's
Batman.
version of the Batman will play off well with David Cornsweet Superman. I'm not gonna lie.
Why not? Dude, it would be the best possible version.
I think the
Emo,
best
emo,
possible
edgy
version of
Batman.
Batman to play off Superman is like the well-established, incredibly serious, and not like emo version of Batman. Which in live action, I don't know if I've seen it done incredibly well, but I guess it'd be the Michael Keaton version. Or
Mm,
perhaps the Christian Bale, but the Christian Bale version was also like he's also trying to figure it out. He's also making mistakes left and right.
yeah,
I don't
I
know.
think it can work. If I
They did
were,
they did
that would be my
incorporate Michael
advice.
Keaton into the DCEU, that version of Batman, and they did fold him in. Maybe it's
They
the Ben
did.
Affleck version actually. I think the Ben Affleck version was a good version of Batman to interact with Superman. And I think the Ben Affleck version of Batman, if you remove his willingness to kill, could would have been like a good version to
Well, that's
interact
what I'm
with
saying. Like
Superman.
Zack Snyder intentionally tried to make him like the darkest he could be. Of he's a killer and he doesn't care about his rules anymore. If you
In
take the
in
Batman, who's just in tone again, just like he's a little emo and edgy,
But
But
tone is
also,
what's important. Tone is what's important when it comes to like that edginess. Because there's a reason why Robert Pattinson's version feels so much more edgier and emo and violent than uh, Ben
yeah,
Affleck's
but
version.
he
Even though Ben
changed
Affleck's
by
version
the
actually
end.
kills people.
He's no longer vengeance. He's Batman, so he can tone it back in that sense.
I
But
mean, again, let's watch. Let's see how the Batman 2 pans out. Let's see where Batman ends up at the end of it, and maybe I'll change my mind. You
I'm
know,
just saying, it's been what, 3 or 4 years since the Batman? When did that come
been a
out?
long time.
2022.
2022, I think. Yeah, it's been a
So we're
while.
not getting that until,
2027, I think.
yeah, certainly not before like December 2026, and so it'll probably be 2027. That's insane. You'll have Supergirl had already come out, maybe Clayface. The Wonder Woman movie will probably be filming. It's like that's a lot of
They'll be
time.
filming
You're
Brave and the Bold by the time Batman 2 comes out.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So it's like let's just cut to the chase here. The Batman 2, find some way to sprinkle it in that it's part of this larger universe, and then Brave and the Bold, bring Pattinson back for that.
I'm sure James.
2030.
I'm
There you
sure
go.
James Gunn has considered it. Like it
I'm
has
sure he
to
has.
be.
But they need to pull the trigger on it because
We'll see,
I mean,
man.
people love Batman, but it just wouldn't make sense to hamper your new DC universe by having like two separate Batman and risking confusing the audience like that.
It makes more sense to do that than to cancel the Batman 2 and disappoint fans and make them not want to watch your universe because you canceled something that they love. And also something that will make a lot of money.
Yeah, but
Because how much did the Batman make? Like
best of
800
both
million?
worlds, like 770 million. But best of both worlds, combine the universes. There you go.
Dude, it's I'm sure it's under consideration. It's out of our hands. We'll see.
It is.
I don't know if
But
it's a good idea.
are you excited for the DCU going forward?
Yeah, maybe. I'm I'm more interested in watching their movies than watching Marvel movies because it feels like they're going to be more distinct in voice, which I appreciate, as opposed to Marvel movies, which are cookie cutter, rinse repeat, you know.
Mm,
And
all
I'm
right.
more interested in watching new. Also, I'm more of a DC guy than a Marvel guy anyway, and I've been disappointed by DC products in the past greatly, and I would love to see. As much as I'm kind of fatigued by superhero content, I would love to see DC like franchises on the scale and quality of like early Marvel projects in terms of films. So it would be nice to see like a full universe put together well and in an enjoyable way. And I don't know if I'm going to get that. You know, the Superman movie that we just saw is hopeful. It is new, it's fresh. It didn't wow me a lot, but it did feel like a new direction, which is good. We're just gonna have to see. You know, I
Yeah.
will be there for Supergirl. We'll check it out.
Okay. Hey, that's a win then. That's what James
It
Gunn
is a
needed to
win.
hear. You'll be there for Supergirl. I will as well. I'll be there for Lanterns on HBO Max.
Oh yeah, I will watch that too.
Calling it. I think that'll be the
I love
Andor
Patchan.
of the like DC shows, like superhero shows.
Mhm.
Um, so I will be there for that. And then, yeah, I'm excited to see what they do next. But I'm locked in. I'm happy. I'm very very happy with the direction we're going so far.
Sure.
So out of 5 secret harems, I'm giving Superman 3.5.
I'm also giving it 3.5, but like right on the line of being a 4. It was close.
Yeah, it was close. Again, that later half just need to be uh,
A
better.
little
Action
tighter,
sequences
yeah.
a little better, and then more of an
The
arc
whole
for
thing
Clark.
needed
But
better action sequences, I think.
yeah,
Yeah. And
but
Superman does need better arcs. I think the main characters need better arcs. And I think if maybe they'd cut more of the side characters, which again, James Gunn is not just the Superman filmmaker, he's the DCU architect. He has to kind of be planning for everything. So I understand why he's filled it with so many side characters to like just get the ball rolling and put us in a direction. You know, we've got Hawkgirl showing up in Peacemaker season 2. We've got the Supergirl movie, which has been set up now. And Maxwell Lord is going to be playing a bigger part going forward. So obviously he's like doing a lot of things all at once. But I think had those side characters been cut down a bit, it would have been easier to focus on some better arcs for the main characters. But
mhm.
he's got bigger fish to fry than making one good movie. He has to make one good universe of movies, you know. So I understand the restraints being put here.
Very true. But all right, Superman was a success. There
Yeah,
we go.
it was all right. That's all the time we have. If you'd like to give your thoughts on the show, you can email us at theboxofficeshowpod@gmail.com.
Our main title theme for the show is Sundown by Joseph McDade.
If you like the show, please give us 5 stars, whatever podcast app you're listening to, and be sure to tune in next week. Have a great rest of your day.